All right. Hello, 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 everyone. If you're here on the West Coast like me, it is early in the morning, 6 a.m. But I've got Carl Allen here with us, y'all. This is
Yes.
amazing, amazing. So excited. For those of you who know Carl Allen, he's a legend. For those of you who don't know him, I'm going to have Carl introduce himself really quickly, and then we are going to dive into something really important about deal making today. Carl, introduce yourself to everyone.
Yeah, great. So, hi everybody. Just real quick introduction. So, I'm a deal maker. I've been a deal maker for 31 years. 15 years on Wall Street, 16 years on Main Street. Done tens of billions of dollars worth of deals. I own lots and lots of different companies, and I'm coaching thousands of students in the art and science of doing deals. But I'm also doing lots and lots of different deals myself right now, which is absolutely amazing. So, and I'm not just about buying businesses. I know a lot about mindset. I know a lot about entrepreneurial journeys. I know a lot about growth and marketing and optimization of companies as well. So always good to come and jam with you, my friend, and talk about deals and yeah, like maybe what's holding people back, like what's stopping people from pulling that trigger
Yeah.
out there and doing these deals, because there's millions and millions of deals out there. You know that.
Exactly. Well, you know what I hear a lot because I have an opportunity and working with you inside Dealmaker Wealth Society, I have the privilege of talking to dozens and dozens every week of people who are trying to get into this deal making space. Maybe they've come from real estate investing, maybe they're just business owners or, have a diverse background. But the one thing that seems to be a theme that's very fascinating to me is this mindset around money, money as a concept, the way we use money. And it's fascinating to me because when we think of it in one context, like buying a house, nobody seems to have a problem with using leverage, right?
Right.
I.e. credit. And that's a concept most people can wrap their heads around. But then we get to buying a business or using leverage for the purpose of business growth or business endeavors, and suddenly something goes wonky with people's with people's mind about this and they get it confused. So I'd love to talk about, Carl, with your background, the difference between, let's say, consumer debt, like credit card debt and, buying a big screen television on credit versus using leverage in business and business acquisition specifically.
Yeah, so there's a couple of elements of that. I think that's a really interesting question, right? So, like you say, everyone knows that, like, you go buy real estate and you use leverage, right? You
Okay,
borrow
right.
people's money to fund the majority, if not all, of that deal, right?
Mm.
It's like you go out and get a cell phone, right? Do you rock up to Apple and pay cash for a cell phone, or do you rent the phone from Apple or pay Apple per month or whoever the mobile phone company is? Like, if you want to own a car, most people won't go and buy a car using cash.
Right.
They'll finance the purchase of that car through the car dealer, right? And it's the
Right.
same with business acquisitions.
Hmm.
You don't need to use your own money to buy a business. You can even use the business's own cash flow to buy it, right? And here's the big distinction between doing a real estate deal and doing a business deal, right? Is in a lot of cases, it's the business's credit that you're using, not your own, right?
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
a business is a separate legal entity to you as the owner, right? It's like
Mm.
you and I are two completely separate legal identities in this world, right? If you
Right.
go and buy a business, you have a legal identity, you have a
Hmm.
social security number, but
Hmm.
the business that you buy has got its own number. It's called an EIN, right? So it's a different legal entity, and you can leverage that legal entity to raise capital to actually buy it, right? So that's what a lot of people kind of really struggle with. But the other
Yeah.
thing as well, Tracey, which I think goes to the root of this,
Mm.
is it's people's relationship with money, right?
Yes.
People's
Yes.
relationship with money. A lot of people think money is a bad thing, right? they think money signals greed, but it doesn't. Money is an instrument of good. All money does, money is a tool.
Right.
And all money does is amplify who you are. So if you're a generous person that likes to give a lot and help a lot, money just allows you to do that more. If you're an evil person and you're out to screw people, money will give you more power to be able to do that a lot more. But like when I'm talking to a deal maker and they're at that first stage and they're a little bit overwhelmed, it's like, hey, what do I do? How do I do deals? Right. I never talk about buying businesses. I talk about their mindset, right?
Yes.
And you can break someone's mindset down into three very, very simple things. And I'll tell you what they are, right? So Tony Robbins taught me this when I was in his mastermind just before COVID, right? He calls it RPM, and it stands for results focused, which is the R. The P stands for purpose driven. And then the M is massive action plan, right? So let's go through them real quick. So results focused. One of the biggest challenges that people have when they start is they don't know what they don't know, right? And they don't know what type of business they want to buy. So the first thing you've got to do as a deal maker is you've got to figure out, what's the type of business that I should be going out and I should be buying, right? It's like, what are my skill sets? What are my experiences? What am I passionate about? And what value can I bring to a business? And imagine it's like, hey, I'm going to go buy a marketing agency, or I'm going to go buy an e-com company, or I'm going to buy a laundromat, or I'm going to buy a comic book store, or I'm going to buy an aeronautical engineering business. Doesn't matter what it is, right? It's like, think about what's the value you're going to bring to that type of business. And then if you can translate that value to a seller, they're going to want to do that deal with you. And the more you translate that value and build that rapport, the more creative you can get in terms of the deal structure. So, and you can do that with a SMART goal, right? Figure out, not, hey, I want to do a deal. I want to buy a marketing agency in Las Vegas, doing at least $1 million of revenue, minimum 10% cash flow margin. And I want to close that deal using none of my own money by the end of this year, right? That's a SMART goal. It's specific, it's measurable, it's actionable, it's relative, and it's time now, right? So now you know what your what is, right?
Right.
The second part is understanding your why, right? Now your why, your purpose, gives you the grit, the energy, the determination to actually execute and get it done, right? Because execution trumps knowledge every single time, right? Buying a business is like going to the gym, right? If you want to build muscle in your body, you've got to go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. You've got to do sets, you've got to do reps, and then you've got to put the right fuel back into your body. If you do that consistently, you biologically cannot fail to build muscle, right? Buying a business is the same thing, right? You've got to go and originate deals. You've got to go meet sellers. You've got to go and make offers, right? If you're consistently doing that, then you're going to win in this game. But you've got to think about it, right? Why do I want to buy a business? Because, and you might think this is crazy, right? But nobody wants to buy and own a business, really. What we want are the benefits owning a business is going to give us. And for you, that's going to be different for everybody. It could be cash flow. I want to have lots and lots of passive cash flow. I want to have wealth creation. I want to buy a business. I want to grow it. Then I want to sell it for millions of dollars. Great. I want to have freedom. I want to work on my business, not in my business. I want to be able to travel the world and do all these crazy things. Great. I want to have a work-life balance. I don't want to be in a W-2, not seeing my kids play soccer or ballet lessons or whatever. I want to have that freedom to do what I want to do, right? I want to be able to contribute. I want to be able to donate to my church or my community or buy my mother a house or do whatever you want to do, right? That's great. You might want freedom. You might want, it might be pride. It might be insurance. It might be assurance. People getting laid off through COVID and like they weren't in control. When you own a business, you're in control of what happens. So dialing in individually, what's my why, right? What's my leverage over myself? So that if I'm in a deal and it gets a little bit tricky, and sometimes they do, rather than me just giving up and moving on to another deal, do I have that grit and determination and that powerful why to push the deal through over the finishing line? So
And what
once
I find really quick, because I know where you're going to go next, is massive action, right?
you
And
execute,
but what I find, and I would love for you to talk about this, is that space where we have the vision, we've connected to our why, and then we're at that precipice of taking that massive action. And
yeah,
there's this interesting monkey mind thing, you call it inner bitch voice, but that comes in and tries to steal that, and procrastination
yeah,
sets in, and it seems so reasonable in our
yeah,
mind. Maybe you
yeah.
can address that, because before we take massive action, we got to get over that bitch voice.
Yeah, so if you stood at the edge, let's say you wanted to go bungee jump, right? And you're in your harnessed up, you're ready to go, and it's like, I'm frozen. I can't take that first step. Like, one of the things that I do a lot in my life, and this is what I teach my dealmaking students to do, is to visualize, right?
Mm-hmm.
So go through a visualization process, like future pace yourself regularly
Mm-hmm.
in that future environment of being a business owner, generating cash flow, generating wealth creation, having freedom and work-life balance, and all of those benefits I just talked about. Keep visualizing that every single day, because what happens is your brain, right? One half of your brain deals with your memory, the things that have happened to you. The other half of your brain deals with your imagination. And there's a big kind of gray area in the middle where the brain sometimes doesn't know what is real and what's not. So if you visualize a lot of the time about the success that you want to materialize in your life, your brain's going to convince itself that it's already happened, right? And it's like riding a bike. Remember when you learned to ride a bike for the first time? Before you actually did it, it's really hard. And then once you did it, you can do it forever. If your brain thinks you've already done something, your entire physiology changes and your mindset
Mm-hmm.
changes. And then it's like, this is second nature for me. I can do this because I've visualized it so many times. It can actually do that.
And then you can act as if, because
act,
you're already there.
act as if. And
Right.
I visualize all the time. Like the
Mm-hmm.
house that I live in now, I live in this massive house in England that was my dream house for many, many years. I visualize myself every day driving one of my cars into the grounds of this house. And I now own that house. I used to visualize, before I was a speaker, being on a stage in front of hundreds and thousands of people, and they all applauding me when I finished my presentation. And you were there in Newark at the last event that I did just a few weeks ago. And when I got off stage, people normally clap, right? So all the things that I have in my life now, I've actually manifested every single one of them through visualization.
And even before the next phase of this massive action, because I know that intimidates a lot of people, I just want to drop something in. And this is something I've been talking with people, potential deal makers or pre-deal makers about, Carl. And you've never heard me say this before, but we're going to talk about it right now. If the way that I help them frame their relationship with money is, I say to them, listen, if you look at your current bank account, you look at your current financial situation, that is a perfect reflection of your past decisions, your past actions, your past beliefs. Okay. So if you do not want more of the same of your past, if you're ready to make a shift, a massive change in your financial status, your current money, you cannot look constantly at your bank account, your current bank account, and go, well, see, that's evidence I can't do it. My current bank account dictates to me, my past dictates to me what I can create in my future. And so when I help them reframe that, and they see very clearly at that point, oh, shoot, I don't want to recreate more of the same, then I'm obligated to do just what you just said. Start acting as if you're already that deal maker. You're already you've changed your financial world. Your bank account has a different number, right? And then work backwards from the vision, rather than looking to your past and having it dictate to you.
Absolutely, and I think that's an amazing thing. And one other thing I would add to that as an extra layer is, I think what a lot of people struggle with is They just see money as a number. They don't attach any meaning to that money, right? Just because someone has a lot of money isn't all the answer, right? It's like, what does that money mean to you, right? Money's a feature, right? But
Right.
what's the benefit of having money, right? You
Right.
can live in a bigger house, so you can have more fun with your family. You can drive a better car, and that's going to help your pride, your ego, all those different things. You can contribute to society. As I said before, money is a tool.
Right.
I think what sometimes holds a lot of people back is they only think about money as a number on a bank statement, right? That's irrelevant. It's what is that going to mean for you? What can you do? Can you create a legacy? Can you
Mhm.
create generational wealth?
Mhm.
Can you do things for your family or your community or your church or whoever? Can you go and make so much money that you can help a bunch of kids in Africa or invest in a bunch of entrepreneurs to go and do deals with you? What's the meaning of the money for you? But I think absolutely, like people that get to that stage and it's like, right, now I got to do this, but I don't
Mhm.
want to do it. It's like, well, why? You're not gonna die, right? Like when I was a kid, right? And I would get hurt playing soccer, or I'd fall over and I'd scuff my knees, or even now when I go out on my bike and I fly off my bike and I'm covered in road rash and I go home and I'm complaining, you know what my wife will say to me? Well, hey, you didn't die. No, you didn't die. So if you're ready to be a deal maker, all you've got to, first thing is that you got to do once you figured out your buy box is go start originating deals, right? It's not going to kill you. You're not going to die. If you go and originate a deal and guess what? Nothing comes from it. You are no worse off than what you were before. In fact, you've started to build mastery, right? So there's a saying in the world, Tracey, that doesn't compute with me. And the word is failure, right?
Mm.
People will say, well, hey, what if I fail, right?
Mm.
I actually don't know what that word means, right? My brain doesn't work like that. My brain is conditioned to say, well, I'm either going to win, or if I don't win, I'm not going to fail, I'm going to learn, right?
Mm.
And it's like the guy that invented the light bulb, Edison. He said, hey, I didn't fail for the first 1,000 times. I just learned how not to do it, right? He reframed it. So you win or you learn. And the more times you learn, the better you're going to be off at winning. And just remember, anything in life, unless you're a professional stunt driver or something like that, most of the things in life that you're going to attempt to do, they're not going to kill you, right? All you're going to do is build mastery, even if you don't win. And if you build mastery, then at some point in time, could be tomorrow, could be 3 months from now, you're going to win, and you're going to win big.
And this is what's so interesting to me. Some people that get into that frame of it may physically not kill them, like, but that ancient part of our brain, that's the survival part of our brain that tells us this feels like death or potential death. That's that part of it. We need to condition ourselves to get past the survival brain, because the higher executive thinking part of us, the evolved part of our consciousness, is meant to go beyond that survival space. And
That's right.
so I think this is why we admire people who seem to defy in the face of even mortal death, go beyond that. But to bring it back down to the just seemingly simple steps of taking action, I would say one of the ways we support others, but to get support is don't do it alone then. I mean, surround yourself by people who are where you want to be and get help then. Don't try to muscle your way through this if you've never done something like this before. Then
this is why we have a community, right? This is why we have a community of deal makers that are partnering with each other, they're helping each other, they're coaching each other. It's like a village, right?
Right.
Which is a really, really powerful. And like a lot of the time, like when somebody's stuck in a state and they don't know where to move, right?
Mm.
I ask them two really simple questions, right? I say, okay, future pace, what your life's going to look like if you do all the things that I need you to do, if you take action, if you implement, right? What is your life going to look like? And that's going to create a bunch of benefits, right? And we talked what those are before. However, if you don't take that action, future pace, like what is your life going to look like? How are you going to feel 1 year from now, 5 years from now? If you don't do it, what is it going to cost you physically, emotionally, spiritually? And it's like anything. When you're, the more you're connected to your purpose in anything you do, what that does is that connects your here and now and whatever the project is back to that animal survival brain, right? Because it's like I remember in COVID, I was like really overweight. You know, I was really big guy, and for whatever reason, I just couldn't lose weight. And I have mental toughness in all areas of my life, but at that time it wasn't fitness, right? So I couldn't translate my deal making mindset into the mindset of getting fit because I didn't have a why. And it took my daughter coming up to my house and saying, hey, you know, you're going to be a granddad, right? I'm going to have a granddaughter. And then that completely changed my why, because I thought, well, if I don't get fit, I don't get healthy, I'm not going to see Lola grow up, get married, go to college, maybe do some things with me. I'm going to be in the ground. And then my wife will probably get remarried and some other guy is going to be living in my house, driving my car, spending time with my wife, spending time with my granddaughter. I don't want that. Like, screw that.
You got leverage on yourself.
Yeah, I got leverage on myself. Like, I got to change this now.
Right.
All of a sudden, it was survive or die for that project. And I did it, right? I dropped 50 pounds and I went through the same process. What's my RPM? What's my result? I want to drop 50 pounds in 3 months. Great. What's my purpose? I have my purpose. It was my granddaughter. And then what's my massive action? So I did something called 75 Hard. It was a program I followed and I had the discipline to follow it because I knew what I wanted and I knew why I wanted it. And I crushed that program and achieved all those goals, right? So sometimes you've just got to connect back to what's the reason? Why do I really want this? And if I don't do it, what's the pain it's going to cause me? What is it going to cost me?
Be willing to lean into that, because if you don't lean into the pain and you try to circumvent that part of it, and I get positive thinking and visioning, and for some people that's enough. But what we find is when the going gets tough, when it's hard, when you were doing 75 Hard and it was raining outside, you're like, oh, well, I have a pass. I have a hall pass. And if you don't lean into the pain of the consequences of what would happen if you don't do it, when it gets hard, you're going to quit or you're going to procrastinate. And that's where I think so many people have the hole in their mindset.
That's the most powerful thing I think you've ever said, right? And we're friends. We've been friends for years. That's one of the most powerful things you've ever said to me. And I can completely relate to that. So when I was doing 75 Hard, I'm 60 days in. I slipped and fell on my run and I tore all the cartilage in my knee, right? I'm lying by the side of the road thinking, like, you know, I don't know how I'm going to finish this challenge.
Right.
I know why. The why took over. It's like, well, you have to do this because you've already leaned into the pain. You know what it's going to cost you if you don't finish, and you know what the benefits are if you do. So I knew why I had to do it. At the time, I just didn't know how, but I did it, right? So your why is always 10 to 100 times more powerful than your actual how. So
and the why it's associated with the pain of what will happen if you don't, because the pain in your knee at that moment was very present. It would have been so easy for you to go, well, that's it. I'm going to tap out. I mean, I have a perfect excuse for the current pain to supersede the leaned in pain of what will happen if I don't do this. And that's the tricky bit. I don't think I've ever gone this deep with somebody, but this is so powerful. If we are not allowing ourselves to feel the pain of potential loss of future, of what will happen to us, you are missing out, everybody. You're missing out. Do not fear pain. Pain is either productive pain for the future that you're building. That's you're willing to go through productive pain, or you're gonna suffer the pain of regret
Yeah.
and
It's
the
growth, right?
consequences of that.
Pain is growth. Pain tells you you're still alive, and it
Right.
tells you that you're growing, right? And
It's feedback.
the thing about pain, right? We can handle infinitely more of life than we think we can, right? We're
Right.
capable of doing way, way, way beyond what we think we are. It all comes down to your belief. It all comes down to your values, and it all comes down to you leaning into that purpose, right? If you don't have a purpose in anything in life,
Mm.
life can be pretty tough, right? Figure out why you want something and why you want it so badly, the cost of you not getting it, and the benefits of getting it. And then life becomes massively, massively, massively easier. I know that. You know that. All of our protege students know that. It's just the way life is.
I want to conclude today because I know you have a tight schedule and I so appreciate your time today. I
So
want to I want to kind of pull this all together here and say this. Either you're building a life that is expanding, that is getting larger, your consciousness, your vision is expanding, or you're contracting. And the smaller, and when we lean away from productive pain, for example, and we're not willing to push ourselves beyond our current limits, we are by definition creating a smaller version of ourselves, a smaller version of our bank account, a smaller version of our life. And I'm going to be confronting here. We're here to lovingly confront you today that if you are not leaning into the expansive version of yourself, this is the day. This is the call to action. And I believe, and this is Carl, I'm going to say, I don't think I've said this to you personally, but I'm going to say it right here, right now. When I came into your world, into Protege, the end of last year, deal making as a whole, the collection of skills, the network I've plugged into, the people I've met, the opportunities, the vision, my life got bigger. My
yeah,
life, the opportunities got bigger, and I feel more expansive being in this ecosystem, this world of deal making than I ever have before. I'm just putting it out there. So
I know.
what's a final thing you'd like to say to everybody before?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest problems in this world, Tracy, is most people think life is happening to them and not for them, right?
Right, right.
People say, "Hey, I got all these problems," right?
Mm,
Problems are actually gifts that make you grow, and you can design whatever life that you want, right? Like you
sure.
don't settle for what you've got. If you're not happy with where you are in life, that's great, right? That's pain right there. Change
Yeah,
change it.
right.
You can do whatever you want to achieve in deals, in business, in relationships. You've just got to want it badly enough, right? And get that leverage over yourself. Um, that's going to give you all the different tools. So we've talked about a whole bunch of tools today: how to properly set goals, RPM, how to visualize success, how to lean into pain and recognize what it's going to cost you if you don't execute, understanding that execution is power. If you do the things, if you have a coach, somebody like me, if you have a coach
Yeah.
that knows how to do what you're looking to do, then just follow their lead. They've done it a million times. It's like the
Mhm.
Sherpa guide that'll walk you up the mountain, right? Why they're
Right.
so powerful is they know where to put their feet. And if you do it yourself, you'll probably slip and die, right? So follow someone's lead that's trodden the path before you a gazillion times and can shortcut your way to being super, super successful. So once you dial all those things, it's like a tapestry, right? Once you dial all those things into your mindset, you can't fail. You literally, cannot fail. But you've got to want it. You've got to whatever you want in life. You've got to want it badly enough to push through and get it done. And then your life will never be the same once you start to experience that. And most people haven't. I was in my late 30s before I got into all this kind of mindset stuff. And I got
Mm.
to tell you, like, I've grown more in the last 10 years than I had in the 40 years before. just because I've really started to understand what it really takes to be successful.
And this is a personal growth path. It is. So, if people think that you can separate business from personal growth, I think they're absolutely wrong. But so in conclusion, thank you so much, Carl, for being here with us today. I will say, if you're out there and you have not had a conversation with me about deal making and stepping further into this world, please reach out, raise your hand. Let's get on a call and talk about what your future looks like here. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Lovely to see you, my friend. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.